So we're sitting in Honeybee Coffee, and
Great place.
there's a lot of good stuff happening in South Knoxville. There's so much we could talk about. If you cross that river into South Knoxville, there's big development happening. A lot of my stories recently have been about that.
That's true.
But it all goes back to why are we on a river in the first place?
Yeah,
and so
the river has an interesting role in Knoxville because it's the reason it was here. A city needs a river.
Historically, particularly, right?
Yeah, but as the way people got here, it fueled commerce and things over the years. But it also divided the city, and Knoxville was entirely on the other side of the city for many, many years. In fact, this wasn't even considered part of Knoxville until 1917. So the city had been around for 130 years over there before this was considered part of Knoxville. But you couldn't even get here without making a deal with a ferryman, I guess, before the Civil War. It was actually General Burnside that built the first bridge across the river that connected right about near where we are right now. But it wasn't until really the current Gay Street Bridge, 1898, that people really started dependably coming over here a lot.
And another function I never really thought about until the Nashville floods a few years back was that bluff that I've cursed so many times that I have to crawl down or crawl up to get to the river. Actually serves a great function.
It did originally. The bluff that Knoxville was built on top of, it prevented flooding ever. I mean, Gay Street has literally never flooded, and probably never will. It's what, 70 feet above the river level. This side of the river was kind of terra incognita for a long time. In fact, they called it South America. It was kind of a joke because it was so remote.
There's an effort recently to rebrand it as the South Coast. The West Coast, the South Coast.
And it is distinctly different over here. It's not just the river, but the topography is much more rugged, more wooded over here.
Right. There was a reason they picked that side of the river to start the city, I guess.
That's probably true, yeah. In the 1890s, there was a nice public park called Luttrell Park over here. Right. There was actually came out of the City Beautiful movement. People went to Chicago, World's Fair, and came back with this idea that we should have parks downtown. What a crazy idea.
Right.
And we didn't have a place downtown, so we put a park over here, and it was used for quite a few years. But,
one of the hot topics in recent years has been, of course, South Knoxville in terms of the riverfront and South waterfront development.
I think the prospect of just walking across the Gay Street Bridge and having more development, downtown is hemmed in by highways,
right.
But you can flow over here if you count the bridge and either driving or walking across the sidewalk.
It's a great bike ride from downtown. I mean, that's one of the things that a lot of us who live downtown, we hop on a bike and come over here 3 minutes.
And I think South Knoxville will always be different because of it all be South America in some ways.
Right.
It'll always be different from the rest of town.